welcome back to another episode of Coin Edition's Web3 interview. My name is Tobit, and I'm the host of today's episode. Uh, Today we have Utkarsh Amitabh, the Chief Marketing Officer of Fire. So today's episode will be completely focusing on FireChain, the goals and missions it has, and how it plans on achieving those goals. The second thing that we're going to talk about is the Fire token, which is being launched on 5th December. I hope I'm right about that. It's 5th December,
Absolutely.
just like the Twitter announcement. Then finally, we'll be talking about its future goals and what it has in store for us over the coming years. So before I start the interview, how are you, Utkarsh?
I'm doing really well. Excited for the launch, which is coming up in a
Mhm.
few days. And it's been really encouraging to get the enthusiastic support of a community that has been built over the years,
Mhm.
including developers, young change makers, academics from different backgrounds, governments, universities, and so forth.
Mhm. So, like, did you guys face any difficulties, like coming up with the token and like I think it's been some time. Like, if I'm correct, like, based on the reports, it was like you guys claimed that 2 months back or something, you said there's something surprising happening, and then recently you were like, okay, it's confirmed that it's going to be 5th December.
Hmm.
So why was it like, why did you want to keep it a surprise?
I think more than surprise, we wanted to factor in the macro issues in the world, geopolitical challenges, the economic sentiment, because all of these factors play into when and how we decide to launch the token. And this is standard for any financial asset or any product that needs to be done. So, after careful consideration, we thought that we should end the year giving the opportunity for the community to participate in the project, and hence we decided to launch. But it's been a challenging year for business, for society in various ways. And we wanted to be mindful of all of the changes that are happening. Um, that said, we're very much looking forward to the launch on December 5, and I hope everyone listening to it can carefully read the terms and conditions and make themselves aware of the tokenomics and participate in the process.
So before we dive even more further about the Fire token, um, let's discuss about the Fire chain, because on your team website it is written that Fire chain focuses on developing a sustainable and for benefit ecosystem based on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, when I saw this, it was completely different from the normal chain, mainnet chains that we see in the current industry. So could you explain exactly how is FireChain planning on developing a sustainable and for benefit ecosystem?
So it comes down to designing a consensus mechanism that encourages good behavior. So we live at a time where environmental, social, governance challenges are plaguing businesses and societies all around. So we wanted to essentially develop an incentive structures that encourages individuals and businesses to play adequate emphasis on the environment. It's easier said than done, unless and until there's a tangible way to quantify what the ESG score is and how can businesses adhere to these specifications, there'll always be greenwashing. So one important problem statement was to develop a platform on which businesses and people can register their carbon footprint,
Mhm.
simply put. And based on that, the more environmentally sensitive businesses and people have the opportunity to get a greater leverage on the chain. And this is all designed, again, as I said in the beginning, to make sure that people are nudged toward long term systemic change. So you can actually build a highly profitable business that is mindful of the environmental impact. And by combining this for purpose ideology with the principles of the free market, you can create something that, in very simple words, does good business and has a high social impact. And by combining them, our consensus mechanism is designed to enable the kind of behavior that I talked about.
So, talking about the consensus mechanism, again, I noticed that it was described as the world's first ESG compliance-based reward distribution system. Again, this is description I got it from your documents. So, what makes the consensus mechanism, which is sustainable proof of stake, different from other consensus mechanism in the crypto industry and blockchain?
So one of the critiques of the blockchain technology has been traditionally that it's not environmentally sustainable. It takes up a lot of power, electricity, and generally causes a lot of negative contribution to our carbon neutral future. So our consensus mechanism, one of the world's first, I would say, attempts to do three things. One is to create a framework in which businesses can register their their environmental impact, and using that standardized framework on an immutable ledger, which is the 5ireChain, it can be registered. And the third aspect of it is that this ESG as a service is going to be a very powerful business model in the future, because the United Nations has specified that by 2030, businesses need to aspire to become carbon friendly. And in doing that, unless and until there's an infrastructure to record and a framework to make sure that things are compliant, we're not going to be moving towards the future that we would like to see. So we looked at it as an important social role of a company, as well as a large market opportunity. And in the previous question that I explained about greenwashing, this happens a lot actually. A lot of people and organizations talk about being environmentally friendly, but don't necessarily match their actions with their words. So we wanted to change that, put pressure on the right set of stakeholders to adopt their best practices, their operating procedures, so that we can all inch toward a future where this environment sustainability is not just a buzzword, but something that businesses adopt and take seriously. And nothing of that sort will happen unless and until the framework and the infrastructure is available, is accessible, and is fairly interoperable.
Right. So, like I mentioned earlier, Fire token is being released on December 5th, and you already talked a bit about it. So, right now, I want to know, what can the users expect from the Fire token, and what role does it play in 5ireChain's ecosystem?
This is a way to thank our community who's been by our side from the beginning. And this is an opportunity to essentially, just read what the token is, understand the tokenomics, and if you find merit in the logic, the fundamental economic logic and the technology, then decide to participate in the market. I obviously cannot give financial advice, but I strongly nudge the users to do their due diligence and look at the specifications of what's to come. And we would love to see as many people participate on December 5 and after, to make sure that the token achieves the kind of returns that the community is looking for. And if you look at the way the market is growing, if you look at the way the technology is built out, our testnet got millions of transactions within 30 days. And we were so grateful for the community to make this happen. This is also an opportunity to thank them through airdrops and other incentive schemes, just to ensure that those who stood by us actually have a chance of reaping the financial and other kinds of rewards. But again, like any investment, there are risks involved. That's why I encourage users to take a close look. And this is true for even if you're working or investing in a large publicly traded tech company, or you're investing in a token, which is of a blockchain unicorn, or you're investing in an early stage startup. The due diligence phase is really important. And we've put out all the documentation, both technological as well as talking about our community, our partnerships, and so forth, which I think will help our users make an informed decision about their investment choices. And we believe that if there's more transparency about the underlying technology, more people will get aware. Because as an organization, the larger mission is to unleash the future of sustainable blockchains. And this will only happen if more people adopt and engage with it. And we would like the people to do so with their eyes and ears wide open.
So now let's talk about the regulatory like the regulatory background over here. So in 2023, I've personally seen a lot of news talking about regulations, regulatory bodies trying to open up the crypto market or trying to introduce new rules and regulations. And this, like many of the trade analysts and as well as the community, saw this as a sign that the government has finally accepted crypto industry and the blockchain technology. So as we can clearly see, the regulatory government is completely changing. So how does your team plan on navigating through this changing environment?
So from the beginning, we've worked very closely with governments in India and abroad to make sure that we collaborate regularly to create a new normal, not just for financial services, but for various other industries. So we see our role as a blockchain company that partners with various governments to enhance shared goals of the citizens, of various organizations, change maker movements, and so forth. So regulation is something that is not designed in isolation. So unlike many crypto spoke people who look at governments mostly as a roadblock or an impediment, we look at them as an ally that we need to collaborate with. If and when there is a disagreement, constructively engage on that issue rather than create two camps, which is pro blockchain and anti blockchain. I think there is a road in the middle that can be found where, in thoughtful use cases, blockchain technology can be adopted and slowly that adoption rate can increase. A mistake that often technology professionals make is to try and impose their principles on the wide range of people and stakeholders, and that often backfires. So, at least my personal goal is whenever there is a call from a government official or a minister to really engage with him or her, try and understand what their optimism is and where their skepticism comes from, and really get to the nuts and bolts of what that means. In the case of a lot of blockchain applications, governments would be rightly cautious of the potential of abuse and fraud and so forth. So I believe, and most reasonable players would believe that that's a pretty legitimate concern. Let's work together to try and address it. And there are some forward-looking policies that have been put forward in India and many other governments, and we are encouraged by that. But the role of organizations is a lot more nuanced these days. I feel that as blockchain adoption increases from the single-digit numbers that it exists in today to something a lot more mainstream, this engagement of organizations with governments to collaborate and create a new normal will only increase.
Okay, so this is just my personal question, and which I'm very curious. Let's say you have a certain technology in your company, and all of a sudden the government says that this could create harm for the users or the investors. So in that case, what exactly will you be doing, or what strategies does 5ireChain plan on implementing?
Yeah, one of my degrees is in moral philosophy. So what you asked me, the philosophical question: how do you ensure that your technology does no harm? And the answer is that you engage with all stakeholders and try and define what harm is, and then jointly figure out what those mitigation strategies are. Because today, harm can be short term, long term, it can be hidden, and these harms need to be explored. And we don't need to be overcautious in a way that we stop technological progress, and we don't also need to be the opposite, where we say that technology is the answer to all challenges that have ever existed, which some people rightly believe is the case, but this belief is not shared by everybody, and we need to have that conversation And this conversation manifests through regulations that you asked me in the previous question. This happens in the form of education, where you come forward and work with different governments to launch programs about awareness of risk, the opportunities, and so forth. And ultimately, you want the user or the set of users to decide what's right for them. Again, like respecting principle of autonomy and liberty and so forth. But our role or the role of the blockchain industry overall should be on education and ensuring that people have the tools and the awareness to make the right set of choices.
Thank you so much for answering that. So finally, the last question I want to ask, apart from the FIRE token, what all strategies, what are the future strategies that 5ireChain plans on implementing, to improve your ecosystem or for the users?
So we recently held a demo day to invite people who have built on Fire to present their companies and decentralized applications. And we were really impressed by the quality of candidates pitching to us. These were not just from one geography, but from all around the world. The businesses and apps that they presented were not just from one industry, but ranged from addressing climate change in Mumbai to launching a new NFT marketplace in Eastern Europe. And this diversity of projects is something that we want to invest in, give grants for, provide mentorship for, and so forth. I also feel that because the industry is still in its early stages, despite what some people might think, there's a lot more hand holding that's required. How do we encourage the next million developers to come out of schools and colleges? How might we nudge them to build applications that they truly care about and can also address the environmental challenges? What are ways in which we can create, a future where doing good business and doing good for the society are not mutually exclusive, but the norm? And I think that's the broadish mindset that we're operating in.
So, like you said, there's a lot of projects that you're looking at and you're trying to train them and mentor them. Is it possible if you could name some of those projects that are coming up, or is it?
So we're about to announce the grants, but like there are quite a few projects. So let me not share my favorite one.
Mhm.
But I will say that a lot of the projects that came out addressing environmental challenges, I thought did a really good job of explaining how they'll find their product market fit, how they're going to get profitable eventually, what is their go to market strategy. So I found some of those presentations pretty insightful, but no favorites. Ultimately, whether it's building on blockchain or building anywhere else, it comes down to simple fundamentals of achieving product market fit, trying to become profitable, trying to make sure that the culture within the organization is good. And I think companies that are building this way are likely to succeed in the future, or as some people say, become anti fragile, because the market is still tricky. The geopolitical challenges that exist, they are very much a reality. So we should be open to what the world is and where it is and what we can do to make it a bit better.
Finally, I would like to ask, like children's are the future of the economy, and what plans does Fire has any plans about reaching out to the students, may it be in school or universities, to share this knowledge to them and to help promote blockchain and crypto industry?
Yeah, we want to nudge developers and student entrepreneurs all around the world. So a few months back, we joined hands with Niti Aayog's Atal Innovation Mission to put forward a fundamentals of blockchain curriculum. And this was done with the same objective to nudge the students to explore the technology and see what building on the chain looks like. This is good training. This will enhance their critical thinking and hopefully spark their curiosity as well. So we do this largely to grow and educate the market. And being personally really interested and invested in the education sector, I am very much looking forward to what these students build in the times to come.
This is just a final last advice. Like, could you tell our readers or audience about, for users who are trying to enter the blockchain or the crypto industry, what they should look out for, or what would be your advice? If someone new is coming who has no background knowledge about this industry.
Yeah, there are quite a few resources available online to help you get started. There are books and papers available. If you're a person who learns by watching videos and learning, there are quite a few courses online. And there's no substitute for learning by doing. So I feel that you should, of course, learn and consume content and make yourself aware. But the day you actually deploy a smart contract is the day you will actually understand the nuts and bolts of it. Many people do not have a wallet. So I think getting the process, getting accustomed to what transactions in the blockchain space look like would also be helpful. And people will discover that the whole spectrum of possibilities are infinite. But there are also some challenges about user friendliness and the ease of use in certain kinds of cases. So once you're aware of these challenges, you can try and make them better. Again, it's a joint problem. It's not something that one person can figure out. But one day, actually, using the internet was also quite a challenge, and then it became, available everywhere, like running water, or in most parts of the world. And I think that is possible even with the blockchain space as well. But it won't happen by just closing our eyes to other realities. It actually means by engaging with people who disagree with you or have another point of view and try and see what the world can do. My suggestion would be learn by doing. Try and deploy a smart contract, download an app, just try and see how it works. Try and join communities in which people are having interesting discussions around it, and let the process of learning make you decide what you think of the industry overall.
So finally, thank you so much, Utkarsh, for sharing your insights and talking about FIRE and FireChain and its a consensus mechanism. And thank you again for talking about the FIRE token, which is being launched in December 5th. And also, finally, I would like to thank you for that advice that you have given us in the end. So for all my viewers who have been watching this episode, thank you so much for tuning in and watching episode. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe.